Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Mentoring Minute on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with Dan Comeau in the Mentoring Minute, but first, let's hear from our podcast sponsors. We want to welcome our brand new sponsor, Final Forms, which is the industry leader in registration. But you got to know this, Final Forms is more than registration. Final Forms is a team, technology, and service that serves schools with compliance, communication, and risk management solutions. Final Forms helps your stakeholders with mobile accessibility, with reminders for parents, policies, physicals, and forms for athletes, along with team communication, attendance, certification management for coaches, eligibility, rosters, and reports for athletic directors. It's time you talk with a team that has walked in your shoes. Take the next steps to find out what Final Forms can do for you. Go to finalforms.com/Jake for more information. Once again, go to finalforms.com/Jake to get started. Final Forms, let them help you take your athletic program to that next level. We also want to thank Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and experience you need. Go to violetdefense.com for more information about this great product. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. You know, it's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com for more information. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com and find out exactly what these fantastic products can do for you. We also want to thank Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. You know, they are on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen video consoles, along with an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history, along with your proudest moments, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or learn more and get started with your own digital Wall of Fame tribute. Call them at 614-981-3589, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com to get started. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to thank Huddle for their support. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. Over 180,000 teams, including some of the best in the world, use Huddle to help elevate the play of their teams and their athletes. Huddle is the complete performance platform. They have online tools, mobile and desktop apps, smart cameras like the Huddle Focus. Of course, there's analytics and a whole lot more. Huddle's built for every level of play, from club and youth teams all the way through high schools and colleges. And even the pros use Huddle to help their teams play better. You're in pretty good company with over 6 million users, including your student athletes, a lot of their parents, and the coaches of the teams you're trying to get your kids recruited to. If you want to find out more about what Huddle can do for you and your program and how your school can become a Huddle school, go to huddle.com and talk to their professionals. Remember, at Huddle, we power sports. And we also want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the AD's Toolbox segment of the podcast. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also connects you with the 95% of the players and parents who really love your program, and it gives them a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466, or you can email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your parents or your student athletes, you're really missing out. Talk to the folks at Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack and let them show you how to take your athletic program from good to great. Finally, we want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. You can find out more about what Hometown Ticketing can do for you and your program by going to hometownticketing.com. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Mentoring Minute on the Educational AD. Dan Comeau, longtime athletic director in Florida and member of our FIAAA Board of Directors, shares his tips on mentoring. Dan, what do you have for us today for episode number 22?
Well, good morning, Jake. Today I'd like to talk about venue access at events, whether it be at your place, in your gym, or if you're at a county facility or your football field. You know, youth sports are great, but there's a lot of all-inclusive, bring the parents in, and you know, everybody kind of gathers and has a kumbaya at the end of the games. But once you get into high school, you know, it becomes more of a responsibility for the athlete to take responsibility for themselves and become more of an adult that's part of the educational process of high school athletics. You can run into some uncomfortable and sometimes confrontational situations with students and parents if you don't have defined areas of access. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. And your workers and administrators need to know your expectations of an event and the reasons behind it. So I'm going to talk about some tips about how to have limited access in certain areas, and how to be more comfortable and more precise on your expectations with the workers and with the fans.
What a great topic. It's one of those things that it's hard to cover and might not even be covered in, say, an undergraduate program for athletic administration. Certainly not when you and I were coming up, as undergrads. And you mentioned, the liability aspect of it, but also the fan enjoyment. By doing some things, you can maximize that experience for the students as well as the parents. Great topic. I'm excited to hear what you got. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back. This is the Mentoring Minute on the Educational AD Podcast. We want to welcome our newest sponsor, Final Forms, to the podcast and the Mentoring Minute. Final Forms is the industry leader in registration for athletic programs, but you got to know this. Final Forms is more than registration. It's a team, it's technology, and it's a service to schools that can help with compliance, communication, and risk management. Final Forms also helps stakeholders with mobile accessibility, and reminders for parents about policies, physicals, forms for athletes, even team communication, attendance, and certification management for coaches. It deals with eligibility and rosters, along with reports for athletic directors. It's time you talk with a team that's walked in your shoes. Take the next steps and find out what Final Forms can do for you by going to finalforms.com/Jake for more information. Once again, that's finalforms.com/Jake to get started. Final forms, the leader in student athlete registration. We're back with the Mentoring Minute and Dan Comeau. Dan, what does an AD need to do to help maximize that athletic experience as far as managing the venue?
Well, when you talk about your high school venues, it's usually you have a pretty good crowd, especially if you have a big game, whether it be football, basketball, baseball. And it's important to make sure that your workers and your fans know your process and know your expectations of the venue and the event. And let's start with the parking lot. It's usually non-existent as far as problems go when the game starts. But after a big game, people are hyped up. Kids are from both schools are in the parking lot, and you have some parents that may be excited about the game in a good way or a bad way. And you want to filter your workers into the parking lot, encourage them to get in the cars and get out of the parking lot as fast as you can. Make sure you have somebody out there, especially law enforcement, just to monitor and make sure everything goes smooth in the parking lot. Let's talk about your ticket booth. The workers in there are many times school employees, and the kids, they're their favorite teachers in the ticket booth, and they want to come in and chat. That's not a good idea because you don't want distractions. And this is all about distractions, the next couple of issues here. No students should be in the ticket booth, just the workers, and make sure that the workers know, hey, I want to talk to you. I love you to death, but you can't be in here right now. Same with the concession stand. Workers just need to be workers. If you have student workers, make sure that their friends aren't coming in and making those distractions, because you can mess up an order, mess up the money, and it becomes an uncomfortable situation. And let's look at the press box. The press box should be only for officials, the press, coaches, and announcers. No parents or kids should be in the press box. It's a distraction, especially for the officials. You're running a clock in a press box or at the scorer's table, and an official gets distracted. It becomes an issue in the game, especially if it's close. Locker rooms. Make sure that is for coaches and players only. I had a situation when I was at another school up in northern Florida where I had to put a police officer at the locker room door because the parents wanted to come in and help their kids, get ready to go home, or, that's the problem between youth sports and high school sports. Kids need to know they are responsible for themselves. The bench, the dugouts, the bullpens. Parents will just come up and, oh, I want to give my son a water bottle or my daughter a water bottle. And then they hang out in the dugout. And it's like, come on, we're trying to teach these kids to be adults. They don't need mommy and daddy there at this point in time. Bring your own water bottle. Sometimes you have emergencies, but go through the coach. Just don't walk into the dugout, and have somebody stationed there to let the parents know, hey, this is an unauthorized place for fans, and be kind about it. And most of the time they'll accept that. They need to be closed. One thing I found out about basketball in the gym, high school gyms are kind of close to the floor. You don't have much space between the boundary line and your bleachers. We decided at one point to keep the fans off the first row, because when there's a big play, the fans jump up and they jump onto the court. Well, we don't allow anyone to sit on the first row. That way they have to jump over a seat to get on, and they tend not to do that. Plus, it gives a nice egress for the people who are coming back from the concession stand. They can walk through and not be, their aisle is defined to get to their seats. And it helps tremendously at a basketball game to keep that front row empty of people. And make sure that you have a defined visitor side and home side at your basketball games or football games. handshaking after the game, controversial for me. We had a situation one time where the cheerleaders followed the football players. Our bus was delayed hours because one of the opposing cheerleaders said one of our players touched her inappropriately in the line. We try not to allow our cheerleaders to get in the handshake line with players. If the cheerleaders want to shake hands with cheerleaders, not a problem. But make sure you have administrators out there, yourself, and people out there to watch the handshake, because there's emotions going on. I would rather see the handshake before the game than after the game, but that's my personal opinion. But it can be a controversial issue if you have too many people in that handshake line. And team meetings after the games, coaches and players only. That's a thought that I have on the field. I know some teams, the parents just storm the field and they want to hear what the coach has to say. It can be a controversial or an issue where you're going to have problems if it was a bad game or somebody wants to speak with the coach. And especially at basketball games, because it's such a confined area, I would have two people assigned, one person assigned to escort the officials to their room, and another person assigned to escort the coach to the locker room with the players immediately after the game, so that you don't have a crowd that can go a little bit out of control. You know, it doesn't happen all the time, but there are those games where things can happen. So that's all I have for today, Jake. I hope that helps.
Oh, wow. That was every single component could be its own episode. A couple of observations. You know, I still, referee basketball games, and it was very common in the gyms during COVID to, keep those first 3 or 4 rows empty. And now, at least in my area where I referee in the Gulf Coast, I've seen a lot of ADs. They've just continued that practice for the first couple rows for the very reason you mentioned, having that buffer between the benches or the court and the fans. And then on the parents on the field, absolutely, we would tell our coaches and we tell our parents, give the coach their 5 minutes. And I told the coach to keep it at 5 and then let the kids go. And at that point, we'd open the field and let the parents on. I even had a visiting team once for a football game. I guess they did it at their school up in Georgia. The parents would actually come onto the field pre-game or right before kickoff and form a tunnel for their team to run out. And I was just saying, I'm sorry, we don't do that. When we come to your school, we'll follow your rules, but this is what we do here. I could just imagine our parents coming down the field for the tunnel. We didn't want that, but great stuff. As always, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain about more Mentoring Minute wisdom, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can contact me at my email, dcomeau19@comcast.net.
Okay. Thanks as always, Dan, for the wisdom that you share. Remember, our listeners, all of these recordings are uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel, so you can watch as well as listen. We appreciate you tuning in today. Come back again next Tuesday for another episode of the Mentoring Minute with Dan Comeau. Have a great day. We want to thank all of our sponsors for their help with the podcast and the Mentoring Minute. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack that sponsor the Athletic Director's Toolbox, Wall of Fame by Vital Signs, Hometown Ticketing, Huddle, Violet Defense, and Sideline Interactive. Please visit our sponsors' websites and check out their products. Every single one of our sponsors is a company, a product that I've used either as a coach or as an athletic director and cannot recommend them highly enough. So please check out our sponsors who make all of this possible, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Mentoring Minute.